I've got my money, you've got your
Yeah.
money. What am I paying for? What are you paying for? It's this shift of, it's not about who earns it, it's ours.
Hi guys, welcome to a money discussion but skilled finances. My name is Lindy and this is Tando. If you're joining us for the first time, we're so excited to have you here with us. And if you're not already doing so, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following us on all our socials. That's at Skilled Finances. For those of you that love listening to a good podcast, whether you're driving somewhere or you're cleaning at home, make sure you follow us on podcast platforms. That's also at Skilled Finances.
Budgeting as a couple is one of the things that we get a lot of questions about. One of the biggest questions we get is, how should me and my partner budget our money or split our finances? Now, what we're going to do today is actually give you 5 different ways that you and your partner can set up your budget for your finances. There is no one way to do this. There are so many different ways, and these 5 ways should give you some understanding and some variance, and hopefully should give you some insight into which way works for you, which way you should be doing in your relationship, and which way you would want to do with your budget. Now, you may start with one way and then switch with another way over time, but ultimately, these 5 ways are the different options of how couples can come together, make sure that their money and their bills are paid for in the household, and they're taking care of everything else and manage money in a way that's comfortable for the both of you together. So, what is the first way of budgeting together as a couple?
So the first way that couples can budget together is to actually use the 50-50 split. So this one is one where you actually calculate what your bills and your expenses are and then split them 50-50. So you're not necessarily having to combine your two incomes together, but you're just saying, okay, so our household bills every month are £2,000. So let's split it 50-50. I'll take 1,000, you take 1,000. You make sure your thousand's paid, I make sure my thousand's paid. But at the end of the day, all the bills are paid and we've split it fairly.
Yeah, and this is to do with shared living expenses, to be clear.
Yeah.
So we're talking, as Linda said, household bills, but we're also including things like groceries.
Yeah.
You may include things like car, but you would exclude everything else. So savings, debts, investments, giving, or any personal expenses, or any mobile phones, or I don't know, Xbox subscriptions, anything that you don't share. You think, actually, yeah, we're keeping that separate. We are only talking about the things that you are considering shared expenses that you're both happy to pay into the same pot. That's at £2,000. And then everything else you leave separately. So that's the first way of doing it. The second method is actually pretty much the same as the first method, but the biggest difference is, instead of splitting the shared living cost 50-50, you split it by income.
Yeah.
Now, this is particularly a good option for you if your income between you and your partner is very, very different.
Right.
So let's just say you earn 2,500 a month, your partner earns 1,500 a month. Well, if you're both splitting £2,000 shared living costs 50-50, that means you have £1,500 left, but your partner has £500 left. And that could put you both in a sticky situation, because all of a sudden you can afford a more expensive lifestyle than your partner can. So when you're saying, let's go out this weekend, let's do this and let's do that, you're coming at it from a position of 1,500. Whereas your partner's looking at it was, I've only got 500. I can't, afford to do all of these different things. And so the other option is to then, instead of splitting it 50-50, you split it by income. So the way you calculate this is that you take your 2,500 and then you add it with your partner's 1.5. So that makes £4,000. That's kind of your combined income. But you can't, the reason why we're doing this is not to combine your finances, but it's to calculate what your percentage is of your total pay for the house. So 2,500 is 63% of the total pay, because we got to that by saying 2,500 divided by 4,000. And you do the same, 1,500 divided by 4,000 makes it 37%. Now, these percentages are then what you will use to split the cost, the shared costs. So you come back to that £2,000 shared living expenses amount, and you would say, okay, I'll take on 67% or 63%, sorry, because that's how much my income is. And then you take on 37% because that's how much your income is. But doing it that way, that means you both have a little bit more money left over. That's kind of equal. And also, you don't have this big gap where you have so
Yeah.
much money left and your partner has less money left
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, so I actually like that one. I think it's a lot fairer, I guess, because
Hmm.
it means that everyone's got something left over, and one doesn't feel like, well, after I've paid for bills and stuff, I've barely got anything left over. So
Right.
yeah. So the third way that couples actually manage their finances is to actually have a joint money mindset. Now, this is our favorite. This is the one that we actually use. And basically, it's just taking your incomes and joining them together as one. So you have one joint account or one account where you put all the money in together and you attack your bills or you deal with your bills together. So there is no split, nothing like that. It's everything's done together as a team. So the reason why I particularly like this one, it means that you've got an our money mindset. But if you're going to go down the route of using this method, you have to make sure that you and your partner are on the same page. You have regular conversations about your bills and how you're using your money, because it's both your money. You both have an equal say to what happens with it. So have regular conversations, have regular money date nights, talk about it, and always be on the same page. Don't just go use the money by yourself without letting your partner know what's going on. But at least if you're on the same page, it makes a lot of sense. Now, because it's an our money mindset, it's joint money. It also means your savings are joint, your investments are joint, and everything that you do is basically joined together.
Yeah, and this is a very different approach.
Yeah.
So that's why we call it a mindset rather than just a way of budgeting your money, because it is a mindset shift of not looking at it as I've got my money, you've got your
Yeah.
money. What am I paying for? What are you paying for? It's this shift of it's not about who earns it, it's ours, and it's not about whose name is legally on the dotted line. It is
Yeah.
our debt or it is our savings, etc. So it is a very, very different approach to the other two that we mentioned earlier on. Now, the fourth option is then actually the complete opposite of the joint money mindset, which is what we would call the one man band budget. Now, what this looks like is actually where you would say, we are not going to combine
Anything.
anything.
Yeah.
We're not going to look at anything as shared expenses and have a bills account where we'll split the bills and things like that. It's actually where I'm going to keep my money in mine. You keep your money as yours, and I will pay for the rent and the gas and electric. You pay for the water and the fuel for the car and whatever the case is, right? Or I'll pay for the groceries this month. You pay for the groceries next month. It's very, very separate. There is no connection at any point where we are sharing anything, splitting anything, or combining anything. Everything is left completely separate, almost like you would do with, say, your roommates,
Yeah.
for instance, or something that you do with, somebody that you live with. It's that kind of situation. Now, this setup might be good for couples who maybe don't want to combine the finances, couples who maybe don't want to find themselves in a situation where they are financially dependent on each other. They want
Oh,
to retain that independence
yeah, or
between
even
them.
couples that are just starting out in the relationship
Yeah.
and maybe you've decided to move together, but you're still fresh, your relationship's still fresh, and you don't really know what your partner's full like money habits are or what his money mindset is like. And instead of taking the risk of just saying, okay, let's just put it all together, you then decide like, let's take our time, see how we can work together, better understand each other before we jump into the deep.
Absolutely.
So, the fifth and final way that couples can actually manage their money is to do a combination of two methods or a combination of three methods, whichever way you want to look at it. You basically take bits of a certain method and, you know, put them together in the way that they work for you as a couple. So, for example, you may not be comfortable yet to go all in and do the our money mindset and join all your money, but you may be comfortable doing that for certain things. Like, oh, okay, let's join our money for things like savings. So saving up for a house. Let's join our money for that. Let's join our money with investments and other things like that. But when it comes to maybe joining the bills and all that little other stuff, not yet. So with that, let's do the um 50-50 split instead, or let's do the income split. So you just find a way that works for you and sort of build your own method as a couple.
Yeah, and this will look very, very different. And you might be like, we don't know what pot this falls under or what method this means, but it's just about figuring out what works for you. Now, one thing that we would say is that, be willing to try something.
Yeah.
You won't really know until you try it. But the best thing to do is for the both of you to have a conversation first about what you feel works for you or what you feel you'd like to do. And then come to an agreement of, okay, we will try this method. And if that method doesn't work, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, you know what, we tried this and it's not for us. Let's do something else. And let's do something else. And you kind of keep trying until you come to a way that does work for you. Don't expect any of these to just magically work on month number one. It may take a bit of time.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to bear in mind. The second thing to also bear in mind is actually that, it's okay to come to a realization that you want to change the way you are managing your money as well, because it's something that it's easy for us in our relationships to get comfortable with the way things are, and you might be comfortable with, like, okay, we've always done it 50-50,
Yeah.
let's just keep it that way. But actually, if you're really genuinely feeling, you know what, I would prefer it if we did a joint budget, then don't be afraid to have that conversation with your partner and just go to them and say, listen, I know we've been doing it like this for a while, but I'd like to try something new and try something else. And just keep doing things like this, because ultimately the point of a budget is to obviously manage your money, but it is also to ensure that you reach your financial goals.
Yeah.
And if you're having joint goals together in your relationship, and you're looking at the way you're budgeting your money right now, and you're thinking, well, we have joint goals to buy a house together or to do this together, but right now we've got this one man band budget and we're not quite able to figure out how we can do things jointly, but we want to save up jointly, then you might say, well, let's open a joint account for our savings and see what that's like. So be willing to have this. It's a bit of a tough conversation at times, but be willing to have it with your partner. That way you will know which way to go about it. But those are the 5 ways that you and your partner can budget. There's various options. There is no wrong or right with this. It's just what works for you. And that's literally the best thing you can do.
Absolutely. And I guess one final point for me would be to say that it's important for you to work as a team with your partner. Have those conversations, like Tanda said. If you are coming into the relationship thinking, well, my parents have always done the joint money mindset, so that's what we're going to do. But your partner's then like, I was used to the 50-50 from what I've seen other couples do, so that's what I'm going to do. Unless you have that conversation and talk about it, you'll come into the relationship with different types of expectations of how you should manage your money. But ultimately, what matters is having a conversation, working together as a team, and finding a method that works for the two of you. As we've already said, what may work for us may not work for you, vice versa. But unless you have those talks and those conversations, you'll never know that.
100%. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments, which one of these methods do you think works for you, or do you would love to try with you in your relationship? We'd be interested to see the variances of opinions on this. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, leave us a review. Would love to hear from you and let us know that you're getting value from this. Feel free, if you have any questions, to reach out to us on DMs on Instagram. We'll be happy to chat about all the various options of how to budget together as a couple. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to see you soon.